Mr. Blake McLaughlin, co-founder, COO of Break. Welcome.
What's going on, guys? Do we have the slide? There we go. All right, guys, I'm gonna get you guys woken up. You guys ready? Anybody? Afternoon, coffee's in you? Great. I'm gonna start by introducing myself and my company, and then give you a little bit of the outline, and then get right into it. So my name is Blake McLaughlin. I'm one of the co-founders of Brink.io. I was in the Valley for over a decade, working with startups. I had my own startup that we've won, made some money, had startups that we've lost. I worked at Apple for 6 years, working to build their small to medium business channels and their venture capital channels. I then moved to Asia because I was excited about what was happening in physical innovation. So I've been here for 3 years now, building Brink. The reason I bring that up is that one of my biggest passions and why I'm here talking to you today is about health, about living happier and healthier lives. We only have one chance at this. You have to decide to do something about it or not. At Brink, we're deciding to do a lot about it. Over our portfolio, over 50% of our investments are in health technology companies. So we know a little bit about this. Our business builds hardware companies. Who here, just doing customer development, who here, raise a hands, has heard of Brink before this talk? A couple of people? Okay, that's good. We have more work to do. All good. The reason I'm asking is that it's really important for us, especially in this region, to help hardware innovation survive. So many of the products that all of us know and love, we've looked at on crowdfunding. We have inspiration and ideas, but they don't ever get to the mass market. So we have 3 parts of our business. We have our hardware accelerator programs, we have our studio and manufacturing inside China, and we have our distribution and growth teams around the world. Because this kills physical innovation. We've helped almost 50 companies now in the last 2.5 years, and I'm really excited for all of you to join us afterwards to have a chat, which is why I'm gonna start with the takeaways first. I hate going to these talks and then not finding out what do you do afterwards. So I'm gonna give you 2 things, all right? You ready? Remember this. First, if you want to talk to me afterwards, I want to keep this conversation going. I only know what I know. I'm learning from everyone all the time, so get in touch with me. My website is betabay.me. That's betabay.me. That's also my social handle all over the internet. I think we got that there. It's either betabay or betabay with the number 1. Please have a conversation with me, and also happy to chat afterwards. Next takeaway. Who here lives in Hong Kong? Raise your hands. Soon to be. Raise your hands, awesome. Afterwards, Mickey right here, raise your hand, Mickey. He has little cards. We are the Quantified Self chapter organizers in Hong Kong. It's a group of people similar to me and all of you that are interested in your own health that gets together every couple of months to try to learn more about how to live happier and healthier lives. So I have cards if you'd like to join. It's a Facebook group. We'd love to have you guys because again, we don't know everything, right? We gotta learn together. Cool? Awesome, thank you. All right, let's get into the talk. It's the title of the talk. The future of health is not your doctor's responsibility, it's yours. Who here believes that it's your doctor's responsibility just for fun? Anybody? Not your fault? Okay, cool, good. We'll get into this. So, what I'm gonna start out with is the foundation of health. This is probably something that a lot of you are confused about because I know I was. The 3 main parts of your health are expressed in your genetics, your diet, and your environment. So let's walk through that. Your genetics are your hardwiring. Do you have much control over that? Anybody? What do you think? Not too much, right? Your genetics are your genetics. Thank your parents. On the other side, your diet and your environment, the chemicals you put in your body and the chemicals you're exposed to, you have a lot more control over. I'm gonna walk you through why this matters. So we're gonna go through 3 main sections in this talk. We're going to talk about the current state of health technology and the health industry. We're going to jump into the future of health technology and the medical industry. And then we're going to come back to today and really help you guys walk away with actionable steps. Stuff you can do right now to help you live a happier and healthier life. Cool? You guys with me? Wow, afternoon. All right, guys, come on. We got to do this. Let's start with the current state of the medical industry and technology. So this is something, a story that all of you will resonate with, and we've been doing this for generations. You generally live your life, happy life, no big deal, And then you start feeling badly. You start getting sick. So what do? You generally ignore it, try to act like it's not happening, and then eventually when it gets bad enough, you go to the doctors. And then what happens when you see that doctor? It's usually the first time you've ever seen that doctor. They've never seen you before. And then you have how many minutes? 10? 15 minutes? Maybe 20 minutes if you're really lucky to see that doctor. And then they do a couple of things, right? They poke you, they stick something in your mouth, they ask you a couple of questions, and then they attempt the impossible. After just routine diagnosis, and for the first time ever meeting you, they attempt to diagnose your impossibly complex body. We're asking our doctors to be magicians. Make sure you understand, that's your fault too. We've all accepted this for generations. You are literally seeing a doctor for the first time and expecting in 10 or 15 minutes for them to go, totally got it, and I'm just gonna give you a pill and it's all gonna be fine. So that's the diagnosis part. So how are we doing on the prescription part? That's the pill you get. Just for fun. Who here thinks that the pills you put in your mouth that your doctor gives you are at least 50% effective? Raise your hands. Cool, down. Another one, what about 60%? Not that many, down. More than 70%. Okay, I kind of tricked you guys. More and more. Who thinks it's less than 50%? Interesting, kind of a split. Super important. Across the entire planet, the efficacy of our medication is 30%. 3 out of 10 pills are working. 7 out of 10 are not. Think about that for a second. What devices or what services do you pay for that you're okay with a 30% efficacy rate? Would you buy your car if the airbag only deployed 3 out of 10 times? Would you get on a plane that only safely lands 3 out of 10 times? Shit, I can go to China, I don't speak Chinese, and I can get the food I ordered more than 3 out of 10 times. This is crazy. This is our health. And all of us are part of the problem because we think that it's our doctor's job. We don't say anything, we don't give them any data, and we just show up and say the 3 Ps. I have pain, give me a pill, I want pleasure. It's insanity, right? But we've been doing it forever. And it's even worse when you talk about one of the worst diseases in the world, cancer. In America, I'm an American, so I'm gonna use American stats. In America, 40% of Americans are going to get cancer. So that means that if you don't get cancer, someone you love absolutely will. My grandmother, my father, my grandfather, and my sister-in-law have all had cancer. So I'm definitely getting cancer. Like, there's no way around that. Cancer medication is only 20% effective. 2 out of 10 times. This is insane, right? Now, that's not to mention, think about this for a second. If you have 10 pills and you have 3 that are working and 7 that are not working, that means all the money that's going into those pills, 7 out of 10 times, is literally being flushed through our bodies into the sewer. How much do you think that is? Any guesses? Anyone's gonna interact with me a little bit today? It's over 10% of the global domestic product on Earth every single year gets flushed into the sewer and doesn't affect us positively. 10% of the whole planet's money. Versus putting money into medication, research, new research for medications, or better treatments or diagnostics. Now, I know this is tough, and I want to start here because I think that all of us, including myself, before I got into the quantification movement, before we started investing in health technologies, I didn't know either. Why would you? Our parents lived like this. Their parents lived like that. But again, we're the new generation. We don't think it's going to happen to us. But you want to participate in it if you don't want it to happen to you. So there's 3 really awesome advancements that I want to talk about that are with us right now that you guys should know about and you can learn about to see how they can more positively affect you. I'm going to fix the 30% really quickly because that was scary. I know. I can tell everyone's face is like, oh, that's a really crazy stat. So I'm going to fix that for a second. Let's go to the prescription side. Who here's ever heard of organoplates? Didn't think so. I'm gonna ask you a lot of weird shit you're never gonna hear about. So organoplates are freaking awesome. All it does is, let's say you go into the doctors, you wait for that pain, right? Maybe it's your liver, your lungs, your heart, your brain, your spleen, whatever, your gut, whatever hurts. They can literally just take some cells, give it to the laboratory, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. 3D models of that diseased tissue in your body. So when you go to the doctor and something hurts really badly, that doctor, again, we're asking him to be a magician 30% of the time, right? That's a really low hit rate, even though they might be able to diagnose you correctly. So organoplates allow the doctor to actually try the different medications or prescriptions on your actual tissues in a lab to see which one affects you more positively. Easy, right? It only takes 2 weeks right now. So it's not everywhere, but it's coming. So there's something to be happy about. Smile with me, guys. Come on, I know it got scary at the beginning. It's something that is actually close. You can let the doctor experiment on a 3D sample with all your blood types, everything that's in there, to see if that prescription is going to really work for you. Awesome. Really, really good for all of us. Now that's on the prescription side. Let's talk about the diagnostic side. Who here has ever heard of the 100,000 genome study in the UK? Okay, a couple of people. For fun, who's ever taken a genetic test? Wow, that's really low. Okay, how about this? Who here has had the option but refused a genetic test? Interesting. So my sister-in-law had that happen. They offered a genetic test, they took her blood, and she didn't want it. And she was furious because they ended up doing it anyways. And I understand. Our genetics is super, it's a huge topic, right? There's a lot of ethical conversation that goes into that. Think about it for a second though. 25 million Americans that are alive right this second are going to have some of their genetic defects, which we all have, it's normal, we're all defective in our own ways, but 25 million Americans alive today are gonna have a serious genetic defect or disease express itself in their lifetime. That's 1 in 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's you. That's 3 to 4 of these people in the audience right now. And if you don't give your doctors your genetics, your genome, how do you think they're gonna fix it? And I'd love to talk to people afterwards because this is not binary. I understand. It's a really complicated topic. Like, you get your genomes, you give them to a doctor, and there's going to be 50 bays running around. Like, I don't want that. I want my kids to be one of a kind too. But it's really important to understand the fundamentals. Go back to those 3 points: genetics, diet, environment. You need to get okay with this. Like, I think in the future, I'll say this now, and then you can watch it on YouTube and talk shit about me in 10 years or 20 years. I think that in our lifetime, we will not legally be allowed to go to the doctor or a hospital without giving up our genetic information. I don't think they will legally be allowed to touch you. Think about the insurance risk. When the doctor knows they're guessing 3 out of 10 times, and then all of a sudden they can start guessing better by knowing your genetics, why would the insurance company keep paying for that? So it's something that all of us need to think about, and I'm going to come back to that at the end, but you need to start thinking of what are the pros and cons in your brain. Like, why do you think it's okay, not okay? Because we're going there big time. We already give our blood, we already give our fingerprints every single day, we give our retinal scans when we go between borders. Think about it for a second. It's going to be really important. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is a diagnostic, which kind of goes prescription to diagnostic. Really important. Who here has ever known a family member that's had a tumor of any sort? 1, 2, 3, wow, okay. 4 or 5 people. Critical. Tumors are these really odd parts of like sort of incarnations of our genetics. It takes a lot of stuff to go wrong to have a tumor show up. However, we've been using incredibly rudimentary diagnostic means for a long time. We usually look at the color, the shape, the size, maybe how fast the cells divide, but that's really, really high level, right? And the way it works now, I'm gonna ask people to play with me here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of you, hands up. Actually, you guys 3, stay with me, guys. I'm gonna get him out of his iPad big time. I'm talking to you. Hands up, you 3, and then you 2, hands up. Perfect, cool. 3, hands up. Come on, guys, help me out, help me out. So there's 5 people, 5 types of tumors. You 2, we know, 10 years ago, we know for sure that we can help you, but the problem is, one of you, both of you have 7 to 8 years life expectancy, no problem. One of you we're going to treat, and we have no idea which. You're going to do fine. One of you is going to live 7 to 8 years and have severe neurological damage. but we don't know. The three of you, we actually have the treatments figured out. You're safe. See it? You should like me. I got you out of the iPad. You're safe. You're good. Now, move forward. We're using genetics now. That same situation, we're looking at the DNA. We've been able to take that same problem. Doctors don't like this, obviously. They don't like being in this position, not knowing how they're going to treat their patients. That's not why they took those oaths, right? But now they know, same two patients, they can say, oh, good thing we looked at the DNA, because we know for sure treating you would have been a real problem. We would have hurt you. You would have been alive, but you wouldn't be happy probably with how your life turned out. But for you, we actually know we can take that 7 to 8 years just by looking at the building blocks of that tumor and help extend that life expectancy from 7 to 8 years to 15, 16, or beyond. That's right now. Just by giving our doctors better ways to visualize the things they already know are problematic. Now they can also create new treatments, which is amazing. But this goes back to this point, guys. You have to understand that you play a role. Is anyone getting like this through now? Like, you can't just show up and expect, I'm not gonna do anything for myself, and just show up and go, oh, it hurts, doctor, fix me. It doesn't make any sense. You need to help them by giving them that data. Now let's fast forward to the future for a second. This is really fun. Who here's a sci-fi lover? Anybody? Really, that's it? You're on a tech show. Are you joking? Okay, I'm gonna assume you're all sci-fi lovers. So, we all know where this is going, but this is actually happening now. I'm gonna give you 2 great examples. We are gonna move from this really insane paradigm where we go in and get diagnosed in 15 minutes and get given this crazy prescription that's super ineffective, to actually predicting illness before we get sick and eventually preventing it. So we're gonna move from diagnosis to prediction and from prescription to prevention. It's happening. You guys have seen this, right? Like, I get really excited about this. You get in that tube, you know, like you're in the med bay or something, you get in the tube, you hit a button and it performs like 1,000 different diagnostics. It's really, really quick. It says you have 5 different things wrong. And then you hit a button and miraculously, you're cured. We are actually gonna get there. Probably not in our lifetime, sorry, but it's gonna happen. We're moving in that direction. And it started, and there's a really awesome report from NASA right now called the Twin Study with Stanford. Anyone heard about this before? Yes, thank you, awesome. This is really, really important. It starts with that foundation again. Genetics, diet, and your environment. So they have 2 twins, identical twins. So the genetic part is figured out, right? When you have the same DNA, you have the whole same genome, good to go. Doctors and scientists love to control, and that's a really nice control experiment, right? Same exact inner workings. Then you have the diet. What's really nice about going to space is when you go to space, they prescribe your food the entire time. So they understand every single bit of food that's going in your mouth because they designed it. Now the other guy sits on Earth, right? One goes to space, one sits on Earth. Now the last part is the environment. I think a lot of us discount how important our environments are. So think about this for a second. This guy, this brother, sits at home, and then one brother gets shot in a rocket to the moon. International Space Station, same thing. So he's literally going through the most stress ever. He's also getting hit with radiation at a level that no one else on Earth is. And they're trying to figure out what parts of his genetics are altered permanently versus what is temporary. This is really exciting. It's called omics, O-M-I-C-S. It's the multidisciplinary approach, which is where we all have to get our heads around of how you combine all the aspects of our body that become what we perceive as health. So it's your genome, it's your epigenome, which is the environment, it's your proteome, which is our individual proteins, it's your biome, which is your microbiome. All of these things matter, and they're testing all of it, and they just released a couple of weeks ago the first report, the early findings. I'm gonna leave you with that because I think this is something that will tell you a lot about where we're going, and it's really exciting stuff. They are working hard to move from that early diagnosis to predicting in advance, knowing that under certain levels of radiation, certain levels of stress, that based on your genetic code, you will express these things. Amazing. God, you guys are like really quiet. Okay, come on, last one, your blood. This is moving from prescription, giving you pills, to prevention, helping you prevent those illnesses from happening. Does anyone know how drugs work? Like, what do drugs, when you get a pill, what does it go after in your body? Any ideas? What? Generally proteins though, generally proteins, right? So they're focusing on proteins. This is really important. So in your bloodstream, which is sort of like the waste bin of your body, it just sends everything out of your bloodstream. So what happens is your body is actively looking every single second of every single day to try and identify what's happening. And what it's doing, there's these special proteins called diagnostic proteins. And what is happening is your body's running out and saying, something's feeling weird, like this is wrong. And it's putting in new proteins into your bloodstream that says liver, 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 lungs, diabetes. And it's not, may not be actually happening, but it's trying to figure out what's happening. And it's like, oh, wait a second, is this gonna go down? Maybe it disappears. But maybe it starts ramping up. And these proteins have been being cataloged for a long time. So here's the problem again. Is it your doctor's job while you sit at home to know that these early indicators are happening, or is it yours? Question, who here has gotten a blood test in the last 6 months? Down. 12 months. Down. 2 years. Down. Who here hasn't gotten a blood test in the last 5 years? Sorry, gonna be picking on you. So think about that for a second. Our doctors know a lot, not all, of these diagnostic proteins. They've already identified them. So these diagnostic proteins are just running around our bloodstream all day long. But if you aren't getting your blood sampled, how in the world do we know that that's happening? There's this really cool new technology that I backed. If anyone is an investor and wants to support, they need some more, like to get over the line. It's called COR, C-O-R. Has anyone heard of them? It's an ex-Apple executive. His vision, which I love and I'm super excited about, is having daily check-ins of your blood. Now, I know maybe you don't want to prick yourself, fine. Anyone that's had diabetes knows that, you prick yourself every day anyways. But what it lets you do is it lets you get a sample over long periods of time and looking for these little alterations, and then the computation happens in the cloud. Now, we're not there yet, but this stuff's coming. And you guys have to understand or think about at least, what's your role in this? Because if you don't want to participate, that's your choice. But if you want to invest in the future of your life and your happiness and healthiness, you have to think about and learn about these types of technologies. This is coming. We're going to fix this. But you have to play a big role, guys. Like, think about the difference. Let's say all of a sudden, snap your fingers, all the algorithms, all the different diseases are sequenced and everything else. If you aren't tracking your data, how is your doctor going to help you? I don't see any other way. I would love to talk to you guys afterwards. If you have a different answer, I would love to, because it's obviously not easy to do all this. So let's move to what you can do right now. This is how I live my life. I'm happy to learn from you guys. I've just been sequencing and trying to put all these pieces together for a long time, and it starts with your genome again. So all of you now know, off the top of your head, all the parents, nieces, uncles, grandparents, parents, every one of you can think of probably 50 people that have gotten an illness of some sort. Your grandma got cancer. Your dad had diabetes. You have high blood pressure in your family. You have autism. Everyone here can think of it instantaneously. But do you know what you're predisposed to? Only the people that raised their hands earlier, that took the genetic test, have the building blocks to understand this. So my suggestion of what you can do now is look into genetic testing. Look into getting your genome sequenced. Now, I know there's an ethical conversation here. You have to think about it. But without that information, you have no way to connect those dots. So my grandfather, who had 2 types of cancer, and my father, who had 1 type of cancer, and diabetes, and high blood pressure, I'm hardwired for an awesome life. It's literally impossible for me to know. If I don't test, what defects do I have that I share? So one for me, I wish the cameras weren't rolling. There's this gene called motherfucker, and it's really not that, but it looks like that. And it does 2 things. My wife has it, different family tree, right? And I have the same one because my mom had it. For women, it has to do with calcium, especially when a woman wants to get pregnant. It's really a challenge if you have that genetic defect. I also have that defect, and what it means for me, anyone fly here today or fly here this week? Cool. If any of you flew long haul and you have this genetic defect, you are at risk, like I am, for blood clots when you go on long haul flights. I didn't know that. It's proven. It's not a wonder if. It is actually a thing. And I fly long haul all year long, and I had no idea. So what you need to do, my suggestion, my prescription to you, first and foremost, is look into your family tree, jot it down, ask your family members. My dad's passed away, so I can't ask him this anymore. I can't ask him about his family side. I don't know what that was. I've lost that information forever. But I've had my mom's sequence now. I've had my wife's parents' sequence now. Because when we have a kid, those trees come together. Who here has kids or wants to have kids? This is important, right? This is not rocket science. You're leaving it up to chance. I'm going to give you a little example. It's really important to think about this. You have this in your control. Easy. Now, what can you do about it? I usually say this and people freak out because they get their genomes actually sequenced, and then you find out, you Google it, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. So if you don't want to know, do not get your genome sequenced. Like, if you don't want to know, trust me, we haven't figured it all out. So you're going to Google it and go, oh my God, I'm going to get everything. Like, it's really hard. But there are certain genetic defects that we know a lot about. And what you can do then, after step 1's over, is you can change 2 and 3, your diet and your environment, because certain parts of how we live our lives actually help to express or suppress those genetics. You get to choose. Not every time, but you can do something about it, and you can invest in your health every single day. So I'm going to talk about what I've learned about the things that are wrong with me and my genes. So I have high blood pressure, and it's a nightmare. It's really bad in my family. So I'm 33, I'm not that old, but what do I do every morning? I take the Withings cuff, the blood pressure cuff, and I take my blood pressure every single morning. Why? Because I saw what it did to my dad. Obvious, like, I don't want to be surprised by this. Now, maybe it doesn't do anything, but I now have a data set over years, so that when the science catches up or when something does express itself, I have my data set. I'm not starting from zero. What about Parkinson's? Does anyone have Parkinson's in their genetics or their background? Crazy. Announcement this week, 23andMe. Who's heard of 23andMe? Awesome. 23andMe just got approval from the FDA this week to release information about the likelihood or predisposition for Parkinson's. That's awesome. 23andMe is like a $200 US test. You swab your mouth, you send something in the mail, and now you can know. Now you might know because someone in your family actually had it, but you don't know if you have it. You don't know if you have a predisposition. You have to test yourself. Now there's also applications on your phone. Who has an iOS device of any sort? iPhone, iPad, cool. Who's heard of Health Kit or Research Kit? Awesome. There's an application called the Empower app. It's powered with Research Kit. It allows you to do tests on your phone, participate in a research study right now for free, especially if you know you're predisposed to this, to start seeing if you're starting to exhibit certain aspects of Parkinson's early. It's free. It's on your iPhone right now. What about diabetes? Anyone have diabetes in their family? Cool, so that just can't be true. Because in America, and I know China's very similar, 50% of Americans are going to be diabetic or pre-diabetic by 2020. 50%. You are not immune to this. So what can you do about it? Because I know my dad was diabetic. I just ordered a constant glucose monitoring CGM device. You don't have to prick yourself, you don't have to put a needle in yourself. You can just put a patch on your tricep, and it reads your glucose all day long. And you can learn what diet you're using, what you're putting in your body, and how it affects your glucose. You can learn about these predispositions and do something about it. Is anyone, just for fun, I want to see, raise your hands. Who has a wearable device on right now? Show me. Cool, hands down. Who has a wearable device at home, but they're not wearing it right now? Oh, yeah, like, oh. Probably the wrong talk for that. What about connected devices at home? Who has a connected medical device at home? A connected scale, thermometer, blood pressure monitor? Anyone have just one? Just one person? 2, 3? Perfect. I want to do it one more time. Raise your hands. Who's taking a genetic test again? Wow. I hope you guys think about it. I might be wrong. But to me, it sounds like this is a no-brainer. I know that I get hyped up about this, guys, but I want you to understand. The science is not gonna show up like your parents thought, like we thought, that you can do nothing and it's not gonna affect you. It may not, but the numbers are pretty brutal. And you can do stuff today with consumer electronic devices. You can probably find 50 in this showroom that can help you start understanding. Now, don't go track everything. I tried that, it drove me nuts. I was tracking way too many things. So I went back to my genes and my heritage and I narrowed it down for the things that I'm actively or likely to get. Because maybe tracking something crazy that won't align with my family doesn't make sense. But it starts every single day. You need to help your doctor not be forced to be a magician. You can't just show up and expect them to know everything about you with 10 to 15 minutes or one blood test or one sample set of data. It's in your control. If you want to join here, everyone in Hong Kong, we have the Quantified Self chapter. Mickey over there, raise his hand. Mickey has the cards. Please join if you're here, or join a local chapter near you. There's over 300 around the world. I started in the San Francisco chapter. It's really amazing what we can do now, and a lot of people are investing every single month to learn just a little bit more, do a little bit more, because they want to live happier and healthier lives. I hope that for you guys too, because it's not your doctor's responsibility, it's yours. Thank you guys for having me, and I'd love to take some questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Anyone would like to ask questions? Please.
So the question is, which one's the CGM device? There's quite a bit. Can you come and join me, grab me afterwards? I'll give you the link. It's in my iPhone though, and my iPhone's over there. But I'll get it to you right after. What? Please.
I come from Kuwait, and a few months back, the government wanted to do genetic testing in the entire population. The parliament struck the whole thing down. Can I hear your thoughts about that?
So I'm actually, if you guys are anyone here in May, I'm giving a keynote like this but longer with a company called Veritas Genetics out of MIT. So one of the co-founders is going to be launching in Hong Kong, and I'm one of the keynote speakers with him. He's talking about this exact thing. So he's working with the Chinese government, and it's optional, obviously. Optional has to be optional, has to be optional. But he's going to be offering or trying to figure out, his vision is every single baby in China would be given their genome if the family wants it. And he wants to help power that. Now, I completely disagree with mandatory anything. That's insane. But if you believe, going back to that statistic of 1 in 12 of us is going to have a serious genetic disease in our lifetime, I'm okay with, I want my kids sequenced, right? So I completely think that's nuts to have someone force it on you. But I think it should be optional and widely available at a cheap price, which right now it's not cheap. The $199 for the swab with 23andMe is a good start, but it's not the real level. But it's a great place to get started. So I'm glad they tried, but not the mandatory side. I think that's really bad.
Thank you, Bei, and thank you, gentlemen. Shukran jazilan. Anyone has questions? Please.
Bei, that was a fantastic talk.
Thanks, sir.
You gave me so many things to think about that I hadn't really thought of before. My question is for you. What do you think about Skype-based doctors and ways that you don't need to be physically in the same place as your doctor, because doctors are really inconvenient now and expensive, and there's better doctors other places in the world. Is that a way forward? And how do you see that fitting in?
Yeah, so telemedicine. Telemedicine is happening. It's actually the first company I advised when I moved from Silicon Valley to China. That's the first actual idea that I latched onto, that I got psyched about. It was a company that was doing second analysis of cancer patients. So these people were getting their diagnostics or diagnosis in China, but they weren't necessarily getting the best doctors in the world. So this company was giving Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon doctors remote access to the Chinese population to give them second opinions on those readings. I think that's amazing. The ability to go get the expert that you need versus having to fly around. And it's an unbelievable, empowering, improvement in our current situation. I'm 1,000% behind that. It'll help us get the right doctor to the right patient infinitely better. So I hope that becomes the new normal. Some things you have to go in for, but going back to the core blood reader, we can actually do a lot of these tests in our homes. Like when we do those DNA tests, you don't go to the doctor, they send you a kit in the mail. Swab it, send it back in the mail, and it comes back. Blood tests, you have to go to a lab right now. In the future, you're gonna be able to do blood tests at home. So I think we're gonna go fully home diagnostic eventually, in the cloud, and then connect to a operator or doctor somewhere, and they'll be the best, and you'll pay for the right time, not some insurance inflated amount of information, because the insurance can go down, because you actually know what you have. So they can insure just the part that matters, and you can only take the amount of the doctor's time that you actually need. I think it's gonna be really awesome.
Thank you. And
Hopefully I'm the last one to ask. Can I just build on that point on the question you just mentioned? I think in China there are loads of them already happening. Telemedicine is a full-on reality, especially in mainland China. Coming back to my question, very interesting talk. What is actually your go-to-market? What's your business model actually? I'm just very curious.
At Brink,
Yeah.
so we invest in startups. So we help them actually scale their companies in the physical distribution aspects of the world. You actually want to talk to Kyle at Beta, he's one of those guys too. Like we help people distribute their physical products. So we have about half of our investments are medical or health technologies. So we work with insurance companies. We work with the CEO of Walgreens and CVS. We work with Boots in the UK. We work with the actual end buyer to partner with the startup, because startups have so many good ideas, but there's a million obstacles in their way, especially when it comes to medical technology. So you have to partner with all these groups, and you can't just imagine you're gonna make it just instantly gonna be simple. So we try to reverse into where they want to end up in the vision and try to build a plan backwards for them. We're actively involved in that daily with our portfolio.
Okay, thanks.
thank you, Bei. Bei, you know, Miss Nishta is our speaker today as
Oh,
well. Yeah, that means your speak is really interesting.
thank I get excited about it. If you guys want to talk more, I've got all the cards and the QS stuff. I'll sit in the corner over there if you guys want to come grab it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it, guys.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bei. Please be seated. And here we go is fourth section of today. How health tech innovations are transforming people's lives. We got a lady speaker today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Miss Mary Claire Slama, Associate Director, Digital Health of AIA Group Transformation.
Excellent.
Welcome, Mary.
Just a quick question. I wanted to know about that.
Let me get the information.
Hear me well?
Let's actually, you want to just go over here? Let's go over there. Let's come out here. Oh, thank you.
No,
So we don't interfere.